hosted by Ambit Capital. As a reminder, all participant lines will be in the listen-only mode, and there will be an opportunity for you to ask questions after the presentation concludes. Should you need assistance during the conference call, please signal an operator by pressing star then 0 on your touchtone phone. Please note that this conference is being recorded. I now hand the conference over to Mr. Vivekanand of Ambit Capital. Thank you, and over to you, sir.
Thank you, Aisha. Good evening, everyone. On behalf of Ambit Capital, I welcome all the participants to this conference call today. We have with us the senior leadership team of Mahanagar Gas Limited, Mr. Sanjeev Datta, Managing Director, Mr. Deepak Sawant, Deputy Managing Director, Mr. S.M. Ranade, Chief Financial Officer, and Mr. Rajesh Wagle, SVP Marketing. We'll start with a brief overview of the company's performance for 4Q FY20, and then we can switch over to a Q&A session. But before we begin the proceedings, I hand it over to Jill for the disclaimer. Thank you.
Thank you, Vivekanand. Before we begin, I would like to mention that some of the statements made in today's discussion may be forward-looking in nature, and we believe that expectations contained in the statements are reasonable. However, the nature involves a number of risks and uncertainties that may lead to different results. The risks and uncertainties relating to the statement include, but are not limited to, the risks and uncertainties regarding fluctuations in sales volume, fluctuations in foreign exchange, and other costs and our ability to manage growth. I urge you to consider that the quarterly numbers are not a reflection of long-term trends or an indication of full-year results. They should not be attempted to be extrapolated or interpolated in future numbers. Over to you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, and good afternoon to all of you, and welcome to the earnings conference call of Mahanagar Gas Limited for the fourth quarter of the financial year 2019-20. I would like to thank all of you who are connected for our earnings call today. As you are aware, in March 2020, the World Health Organization characterized the outbreak of a strain of the new coronavirus, COVID-19, as a pandemic. This outbreak is causing significant disturbances and slowdown of economic activity. Due to the nationwide lockdown announced by the Government of India since last week of March 2020 to combat COVID-19, the company's operations have been impacted, resulting in reduction of sales volume, except for gas consumed in household kitchens. During the lockdown, the company has been able to receive gas supplies and has also maintained the supply of gas to all types of consumers as per their requirement. Considering continuation of gas supplies during lockdown, volumes recorded, and now with
the conference is now being recorded.
It is estimated that sales volume are likely to pick up gradually due to increased vehicular movement, opening up of restaurants, commercial establishments, industries, and other businesses that are using gas. Daily sales volume has increased from 25% in April 2020 to 42% in June 2020, compared to normal volumes recorded in pre-lockdown period. With around 73% of normal volumes coming from CNG, we expect MGL is better placed to bounce back fairly quickly post easing of lockdown. Commercial sales volume may improve more gradually. The impact of COVID-19 on our operations may turn out to be different as compared to the estimates drawn up as of today, but the company will continue to closely monitor future changes. Considering possibility of prolonged disturbances and in order to safeguard lives of our human resources, we have enabled IT arrangements to work from home, particularly for service functions like finance, HR, procurement, engineering and planning, CRM, etc. For functions like projects, O&M, marketing, where work on the field is necessary, observation of the prescribed safe practices are being ensured. MGL today is a strong incumbent in the CGD sector with significant strengths and core capabilities. MGL being a debt-free company, in spite of likely adverse impact on our earnings in the current financial year, growth of infrastructure will not be hampered due to want of funds. However, remobilization of contractors, migrant labor, permission from housing societies as well as from other authorities could pose some challenge. We are rapidly expanding our CGD network in the existing license areas. During the recently concluded quarter, 32,582 domestic households were added. Today, we have more than 1.26 million household customers who are being supplied with pipe gas. We had a net addition of 24 industrial and commercial consumers this quarter, and as on quarter end, we had 4,021 industrial and commercial customers. Besides, as on quarter end, we had 256 stations supplying CNG to around 7.51 lakh vehicles, and our aggregate of steel and PE pipeline network stood at 5,630 kilometers. With respect to our Raigad GA, we added more than 4,200 domestic PNG connections in this quarter and could fulfill the minimum work program target for providing domestic PNG connections. 14 CNG stations are currently operational in Raigad, and average CNG sales in Raigad had reached 38,000 kg per day in pre-lockdown period. As a result of lockdown during quarter 4, we lost sales volumes in March 2020, resulting in reduction in overall sales volume for the quarter by 8.77% compared to previous quarter. As a result, current quarter EBITDA is rupees 244 crore as compared to previous quarter EBITDA of rupees 259 crore. On the margin front, EBITDA was 35.5% for Q4 and marginally higher compared to previous quarter EBITDA of 34.8%. Net profit after tax was 167 crore rupees in the quarter as compared to 186 crore rupees in the previous quarter. For the full year 2019-20, overall sales volume had a marginal increase of 0.05% on year-on-year basis. However, for the year 2019-20, EBITDA increased to rupees 1,053 crore from previous year EBITDA of rupees 885 crore. Main driver for EBITDA growth was improved gross margin on account of lower spot gas prices during the year compared to previous year. Coupled with improved gross margin and reduction in corporate tax, profit after tax has increased to rupees 793.5 crore in financial year 2019-20 from rupees 546.39 crore in previous financial year, registering a growth of 45%. The board of directors have declared a final dividend of 255%, subject to approval of shareholders at the forthcoming annual general meeting. With this, I conclude and would now like to open the floor for questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. We will now in an answer session. Anyone on telephone? If you wish to remove yourself from the question queue, you may press star and 2. Participants are requested to use handsets while asking a question. Ladies and gentlemen, we will wait for a moment while the question queue assembles. The first question is from the line of Vidyadhar Pinde from ICICI Securities. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hello. Couple of questions. First, if you could give us some idea on how you expect the ramp up of volumes, and when do you think you might get back to normal volumes during the year? And the second question is on the regulatory side. There are some steps being taken by the regulator on allowing competition. What is the progress on that? What's the latest on that? If you could share it. Thank you.
The volume thing, I think MD has already indicated something in his speech. No doubt, volume was impacted sizably in the month of March, particularly last 8-10 days. However, we have seen improvements in April and May. May almost to the extent of 42% volume as compared to total normal volumes we have come back to. So there will be further improvement we expect in the June. However, precisely indicating the percentage when we should back to normal is a bit difficult at this stage. We'll have to observe how unlockdown phases come out with and what are the responses of public at large also. It will depend upon that. But I think some indication of April and May we have already given to you. Regulator, can you repeat the question on the regulatory front, please?
There was this the draft regulation which the regulator had issued last year, and then I think in one of the earlier calls you guys had said that there was an open house by the regulator. So what's the development on that? What's the latest on that? Have you heard what's happening on that? If you could share, if you are aware of anything.
Actually, from the last time we had this conversation, there have been no fresh developments on that front. Probably because the regulator's office also was closed down for some time. But again, the regulator will be the best answer to that. Okay.
And just to clarify, I didn't catch. So what was said in the commentary is that May volumes are 42% of pre-lockdown, and how much was April mentioned as?
Approximately 25%.
Okay.
An important point to note over here is, I think you must be already aware, on an average, compared to if 100 is our volume, normal volume of company, 73% odd comes up from CNG. So we hope as the unlockdown process starts, things should bounce back pretty faster for MGL, because first thing which will start after unlockdown is the obviously transport sector. So we are hoping for the best, but right now a bit difficult to precisely indicate because obviously that's not in the hands of the company.
How many CNG stations are open right now, or all are operating?
Out of 256, about 220 are operating.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. We would request the participants to please limit your questions to two per participant. The next question is from the line of Vaibhav Goyal from SBI Life Insurance. Please go ahead.
Hello, sir. Congrats on good set of numbers. Sir, primarily what I is trying to understand, because there is the difficulty level which we feel in the shared mobility. And for us, auto rickshaw becomes one of the major chunk of contributor in the CNG volume. So you believe how things will normalize as per you, and probably what can be done to mitigate these kind of effect or to provide a better things there?
Well, if you look at the auto rickshaw population, there are more than 300,000 auto rickshaws running in our authorized areas. Now, as the lockdown gets lifted and gradually in phases, auto rickshaws will start coming on the road. Now, if the norms of only 1 or 2 passengers per rickshaw continue, we don't know how long they'll continue, but if they continue, presumably the number of trips the auto rickshaw may need to make may be higher to transport the same number of passengers, which could be a potential upside. However, there are also reports that a lot of auto rickshaw drivers have left and gone back to their villages. They were migrants. Many of them are migrants. So when will they come back and the auto rickshaw, numbers on the roads will come back to normal? That is something which is very difficult to say right now.
Okay, sir. And sir, on the commercial side and restaurant side, because now in last 10 days things have eased. So how has been the progress there on the volume front?
The industrial side has picked up. So, and it's picked up pretty well. And however, the small commercial, which are the restaurants, they still haven't been opened up. So we're still at a very, very small number there. And the large commercial customers, which are these 5-star hotels and bigger establishments, they are also facing a lot of challenges. So these two segments we foresee will relatively take a little more time to come back to normal compared to the other segments.
So in short, on the industrial side, we would be at 80-85% kind of a level pre-COVID kind of now in last say 10-15 days, or and commercial around 50%, that would be a fair number, or it is widely different from what I said?
Well, the lifting up has just happened a few days, but on the industrial, yes, the number could be in the range you're talking about. The commercial numbers will be much lower because we don't have, we have thousands of these customers, so we haven't been able to actually get many meter readings also, because for the smaller customers, especially when there is no automation, you have to physically go and check the reading, etc. So, but we do know that many of the restaurants are closed. Only ones which are offering home delivery and takeaways, they are the ones who are being allowed to operate and using some gas.
Okay, sir. Thanks, sir. That's all from my side.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Anubhav Agarwal from Credit Suisse. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hi, good evening, sir. One question I just wanted to say, check on the CNG stations that we will be targeting or to add on this 256 this year. A lot of them will be on the works where the progress may be stopped because of lockdown. What is it in second half this year or this full year? How many stations do you think you can add to this 256 number?
At current estimate is about 15. Again, a lot will depend on how the situation unfolds, equipment, labor, material, at how soon it resumes back to normal levels, etc. But again, if we have to make a guess today, we would say maybe 15.
Okay. And also want to check on this in National Green Tribunal. They, like in the previous quarter before the lockdown, they have identified 70 severe and critical polluted areas. Some of them were in RGAs also. Has there been any progress from their side, from the state pollution control boards, etc., on the entire thing?
Well, the National Green Tribunal had identified 3 or 4 areas where, they had said that gas needs to be available. Our gas is already available in 3 out of those 4 areas. In the 4th area, we are ready to supply through virtual pipelines. But we haven't heard any more additional movement on the ground probably because of all these problems which are, being faced currently, because industries are facing a challenge. Many of them are trying to reopen, but they are facing challenges with social distancing norms for labor, getting material, etc.
Okay. Sure. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Pritesh Chheda from Lucky Investment. Please go ahead.
Just one question. In the 73% contribution from CNG, what would be the shared mobility as a percentage there, and where we can include the buses, autos, and the the 4-wheelers which are on the shared basis? What proportion of this 73% should be these 3-4 areas?
In volumes perspective, it's a bit difficult to predict because how they will operate also. What if it helps you at the most, we'll be able to tell you that whatever CNG volume comes through in the normal circumstances, what are the kind of breakups of vehicle numbers. For example, if we say 750,000 is the total CNG vehicle, maybe 3-wheelers account for nearly 3.5 lakh. Private cars are around 3,20,000 odd. Taxis in the region of 66,000. These are some major numbers in the total vehicle population.
Okay.
Yeah, and of course, buses, so number is that way small, but since per capita consumption is higher, there are nearly 2,500 or more than that buses also.
Okay. So I just wanted to understand Ola, so that the taxis and autos and buses, let's say these 3 things, should be 60-70% of the consumption of CNG?
Yeah, I think if you
more than 70?
Yeah, I think if you break down the vehicle population into private vehicles and public transport,
Yeah.
then yes, public transport would be in that range.
Okay. Yeah. That was my question, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Nitin Tiwari from Antique Stock Broking. Please go ahead.
Hello, sir. Good evening. Thanks for taking my question. So first one is a bookkeeping one. If you can give me a breakup of commercial and industrial volume. One is that for the quarter.
Volume for the quarter, you are saying?
Yeah. Industrial and
Yeah. Commercial was 0.173 MMSCMD. Industrial quarter. Hello?
The line for the current participant dropped, so we move to the next question, which is from the line of Rohit Ahuja from BOB Capital Markets. Please go ahead.
Hi, sir. Thanks for the opportunity. Sir, can you tell me what is the capex for FY20?
FY20?
Yeah.
It was in the region of around 415 crores.
Okay, and how would it be divided between for CNG stations and for pipeline network?
1 second, just hold on. Ready-made. One second, hold on.
Yeah.
CNG could be in the region of around 60 crores.
Okay.
And rest are of course steel, medium pressure pipelines and so many other things. CNG around 60 odd crores.
Okay. Right. Change in guidance for this year?
It's difficult to predict. I mean, no doubt we are aiming for higher, but there will be certain challenges which will be there on the front of contractors, particularly for pipeline activity. And on CNG front, probably sometimes on equipment availability. We are aiming at least for similar or even higher, but a bit too premature to say right now.
Right. And for the 6 months period starting from April, do we see better margins given the domestic prices were cut and also LNG prices are also hovering lower?
Yeah, I mean, as you said, there are different factors. It will depend upon, if we talk particularly industrial commercial, then one is the net realization, which are dependent on alternate fuel.
Yeah.
If current levels improve, obviously realizations will improve. That will be some benefit coming up. What has definitely dropped down substantially, if further drop continues, then it will add up to the margin.
So, if we were to compare margins between different products, product mix in terms of margins?
I mean, at particular point of time it could be different, but generally per unit or percentage point of view, generally restaurant category is highest.
Okay.
Followed closely by domestic and CNG, marginal difference. And last ranking point of view is in the industry.
Right. So CNG being 73%.
Gross margins, not at PAT or EBITDA level. It's almost impossible to talk at EBITDA or PAT level.
Right.
Yeah.
So with CNG being 73% of your overall volume mix, do you see margin pressures till the time it normalizes?
Not really. I mean, number one, it will depend on what kind of gas cost increase we are expecting, if at all we are expecting, for APM gas I am talking about. And even if by chance price rises, if at all, I think ability to pass through is there with the company, obviously.
No, I was talking in terms of volume mix. So given that CNG will take much longer time to recover to normalcy, till that time it recovers, your margins would be under pressure?
No, CNG, in fact, we are expecting it to bounce back faster because once things tend to be normal or unlockdown is announced, even gradually, as you know, maybe industry, commercial, these things may take some time, whereas we expect transport segment will start picking up pretty fast. People have to move, obviously. So, in fact, things should improve quite faster in CNG volume perspective point of view.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Manikanta Gare from Axis Capital. Please go ahead.
Yes, thanks for taking my question. Sir, just to continue with the earlier line of question on margins, just wondering how were the discussions with the industrial customers post easing of the lockdowns? Was there any request from them to reduce your pricing given the weak? Or at least in the near term, would there be any change in strategy for you in terms of pricing for them, given the financial hit they would have taken during this time? That's my first question, sir.
Now, pricing to the industrial customers is benchmarked to the predominant liquid alternate fuel they use. So because the oil prices had come down, alternate fuel prices also had come down. Automatically, they got some relief in their gas purchase prices.
Okay, so the discount that you are maintaining has been more or less maintained with the alternate fuels, is what you are saying.
Yeah, I didn't get your question.
So the discount that you are maintaining to the alternate fuels for industrial customers has been more or less maintained. There is no change in that, is what you are saying, right, sir?
Yes. In the last quarter, we haven't changed any discount.
And in the April and May months, sir, would there be any change in that?
Only change is a lot of these customers were not able to uptake volumes because of the lockdown, and they requested us for relief on that front, which we considered and gave them.
There are some requirements of minimum guaranteed offtake in contractual customers. So there's some dispensation we have given or will be giving.
Sure, sir. And if I can ask a second question, just wanted your thoughts on the dividend policy going forward. Given our payout has been 36% in FY19 and it has been increased substantially to 44%, and our net cash levels also have been continuously rising. So can we expect a similar level of dividend payouts for the next couple of years?
This time one has to remember when we have talked about final dividend of 25.50 rupees, there is also inclusion of special dividend which we announced for 15 rupees per share. This is obviously due to the fact that no doubt margin front it was better, but substantial benefit has come from corporate taxation, and the benefit which we have got from spot prices remains to be seen whether similar benefits continue in near future also. It is not just one factor on which this payout ratio or for that matter dividend distribution will be dependent upon. There will be obviously capex considerations. There are some slightly bigger amount of contingent liabilities are also there. Probably you must have read notes to the account. We are hopeful that the cases will be in our favor, but at the same time we need to be careful and cognizant of the matter that there are contingent liabilities. Then questions obviously on expansion areas like GA3, Raigad, there are some minimum work program requirements given by PNGRB. All these will require definitely a lot of funds. On the other hand, the cash generation for the forthcoming year obviously is going to be impacted, and it may not be possible to come out with same results obviously the way it was in this year. At least right now we can't predict in that manner. Hence, we will be taking cautious approach towards dividend, but you will appreciate, whenever the opportunities arise, board is cognizant of the treasury surplus which we have, and you will see this time the total dividend rate which we have declared is 350% versus 200% which was there for last 2 years. So hopefully that should give some clue to you.
Understand, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Jenny Shah from Quantum Advisor. Please go ahead.
Yeah, sir. This is Janish here. I have a question on the on your licensing. Basically, the Mumbai MMR region license is getting due for renewal. Can you just share what is the progress on that? I think it got expired somewhere in March or April. So if you can just give an update on that.
Well, right now the issue of Mumbai is sub judice. We really can't comment too much on it.
You're talking about network exclusivity or like?
Both. I mean, there was a challenge in the Delhi High Court about 3-4 years back on this exemption from purview of common carrier as well as exclusivity, and the vagaries of the whole exclusivity regulations were challenged in that court.
So do you mean to say till the time that doesn't, so this renewal, there are no processes defined right now for the renewal of the license, right?
No, there are no regulations in place for any process or any such thing.
So till the time you get a court verdict, this will not get this will not move forward. Is it the way we should understand?
Yes, you can say we are waiting for some legal clarity on the matter, and in the meanwhile, if PNGRB does something, we'll have to wait and watch. But we are not expecting any material adverse kind of impact on our business because of this issue.
Okay, and I just want to get a clarification. You said 70% of the CNG volume is back, right?
No. 70% of the industrial volume was back in the last maybe June or so.
Okay.
42% is back.
42% as on May end, you're saying, of the total volume, right?
Yeah, as compared to normal total volume.
Yeah. But how do you see, like, after June, at what level currently the CNG volumes are now being picked up?
Around 40%.
Around 40%. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Vikas Jain from CLSA. Please go ahead.
Hi, thanks for taking my question. I just wanted to understand what just Janish was asking anyways was, so you, this 42% of overall volumes you think is where you are operating, 42% of pre-COVID level for all 4 kinds of customers put together. Is that what you mean by that statement?
So domestic, we are doing pretty well.
Yeah, so domestic is about 15%. That should be about close to 15, almost 100% there. The remaining 10% is industrial and commercial. That you are saying it's 70%. So 15 plus 7 is 22. So only about 22% for the 73% of CNG is where you're operating, roughly 30% kind of level. Is that what you mean?
I think you have almost answered. I mean, yeah, we cannot be too specific, obviously.
No. So basically, yeah. So this 42% of normal is for overall, which means much lower for CNG, obviously.
42% is total sales as compared to the normal total sales.
Correct.
That's what we are saying.
Okay. And so the if I were to further, specifically focus on, say, the industrial part, you're saying that you've kind of managed to reach around industrial about 70% or so. So that you are hopeful will get to close to normal in a couple of months. Is that how you think of it?
Again, it will depend on how events unfold and how the economy and the industrial sector recovers. Our sales volumes are correlated with the level of industrial activity in our region.
Okay. And sorry, I think you did mention something about commercial, but so commercial is very low in terms of utilization of or versus the normal level, right? Because restaurants and most hotels are hardly operating. Is that what you said, right?
Yes.
Okay. So commercial is clearly the worst hit, then is CNG. Industrial is much better than what it was in April. And of course, PNG is not touched much. I mean, it's not much impacted.
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay. Thank you so much.
The next question is from the line of S. Ramesh from Nirmal Bang. Please go ahead.
Good evening, gentlemen. The first thought is, dwelling on the low volumes, if you were to see 60-70% volumes, how does it impact your costing in terms of the ability to absorb the fixed cost? So just to understand how the numbers will move this year, how does you say other expenses, because employee costs will not change. What proportion of the other expenses, remains fixed irrespective of the volume?
This expenditure with respect to CNG customer category, considerable portion is variable. For example, in the region of 125 crores to 150 crores will be the power related expenses, which are 100% variable with reference to CNG business. Similarly, there is something called gas carrying, wet lease cost, which we say we have to transport gas for our daughter booster station. Those charges are also variable. The commission or whatever share we give it to our CNG franchisee operator is also dependent. It is 100% almost variable with reference to sales.
Okay.
So CNG, most of the expenditure is in the variable nature, leaving aside, of course, maintenance activities of CNG. There could be definitely some planned maintenance activity of CNG and sometimes obviously breakdown or unplanned expenses. So those will remain as some sort of fixed expenditure. Similarly, maintenance activities on PNG will also be on fixed nature. So you are right, maybe employee cost is one thing, but apart from employee cost, maintenance related expenditure you might find in accounts if you go through expense schedule. Maintenance related expenses are likely to be continued. That is quite likely. Whereas otherwise, most of the CNG related expenditure are variable in nature.
So, when I go to the cash flows, given your capital expenditure commitment, broadly, you think you should be able to generate the cash and you won't need any external financing. Am I correct in that assessment?
As of now, we think so.
Okay. And then one more thought on the longer term plans. Now, you're talking about Raigad, and last time you discussed a peak volume of 0.6. Now, given the kind of local market conditions, do you still think that 0.6 is achievable in 4-5 years in terms of the number of vehicles and the household customers? Is there any change in the trajectory to that peak volume in Raigad? Any other area where you think you can get some traction in terms of growth?
No, there is no change in that number as of now.
Okay.
But again, 5 years down the line, yes, that's our current estimate. I'll say.
Okay. And just one final thought. In terms of your business plan over the next 3-4 years, what will be the annual recurring capex for your new projects?
Now this impact of COVID, how long it is going to continue with a prolonged effect, but if we temporarily leave aside that, the range is obviously around 450 to 500 crores at least.
That will be the annual capex?
Yes, it will.
Right. Yeah. Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Sabri Hazarika from Emkay Global. Please go ahead.
Yeah, good evening, sir. I have just a few housekeeping questions. First, what was the commercial and industrial price for Q4 and what is it currently?
Net realizations you are talking about?
Yes, sir.
Commercial as a customer category put together, net realization was 36 rupees odd per SCM.
This was in Q4.
Yeah, Q4 2019-20, and industrial it was slightly lesser than 29 rupees per SCM.
Okay, and what would it be currently?
Currently more, maybe slightly lower marginally.
Okay, sir. And secondly, you said that in Q4 the impact of COVID lockdown started in the last 8 to 10 days of the quarter. So at that point of time, what was the kind of, do you have any quantifiable numbers? Was it down 40%, 50% for that last 8 to 10 days? Any number on that?
Actually, volume has come down to around 20% of the original volume, and we have lost almost some 25 to 30 MMSCM of gas, which could not be sold.
In the last 8 to 10 days of previous quarter. Okay, so and just one last thing, sir. CNG volumes in million kg, do you have that number for the quarter?
Yeah, for this quarter you want?
Yes, sir, in million kg.
1 second. Okay, I have in crore, we can translate 12.97, almost 13 crore for this quarter. kg.
Okay. 12.97 crore. Thank you so much, sir, and congratulations on good set of numbers.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Jeet Kala from Centrum Advisors. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hi sir. I wanted to know what is the sourcing of your gas? Where is it coming from? How much it is coming from APM, non-APM, and how much is the imported LNG?
All our requirement for the CNG and domestic household segments come from domestically produced gas. All our requirement for the industrial and commercial customers comes from imported RLNG.
Okay.
As regards APM or non-APM, the price is the same, so it doesn't really make any material too much of a difference.
Because your end use is CNG and domestic CNG, which is why the price is same.
No, it's just a technical nomenclature which ONGC or GAIL is using. The gas is the same, the price is the same. Some part of it they are terming as APM, some part of it they are terming as non-APM.
Okay, but it's regulated pricing.
Yes, it's a formula-driven price. Formula is notified by the government of India.
Right. Okay. And sir, can you help me understand how the build-up of cost happens? So from ONGC till the stage where it ends up at your gas station. So how much? So basically $2.39 per MMBTU on gross calorific is the regulated pricing as on today. So on that, how much is added? So that you basically convert it into a net calorific value. Plus, so what is the plus cost adding up to? If you could explain to me.
The only cost which gets added on to ONGC's gas cost is the regulated transportation charges of GAIL.
Okay.
They are different for different pipeline systems.
Okay.
And the Mumbai regional network of GAIL has a particular tariff. GAIL's Dahej Uran pipeline has got a particular tariff, which is also zone-wise. So depending on the source of the gas,
okay,
the regulated pipeline tariff adds up. And these tariffs are available on the website of the regulator.
Okay, got it. And my second question is, sir, how many ways are there to put up a CNG station? Is the company owned, the dealer owned, dealer operated? So what are the different models in which you can run a CNG business with respect to, the amount of investment which goes into each particular model versus the fixed charges which you would otherwise have to pay in some other way of, operating? So if you could just explain me that part.
Well, we have CNG stations with various channels. Majority of our stations are in oil marketing companies where we co-locate our CNG facilities along with their petrol pumps.
Okay.
We also have a lot of stations with transport undertakings like DEST or Thane Municipal Transport, etc.
Okay.
This is for the captive use of their bus fleets.
Right.
And in some of those stations, we also have got a small parcel of land from where we can do sale to outside vehicles also. So that is the second channel. The third channel is we do get a few plots, not too many, from the government agencies, the state government or agencies like MIDC, etc. And we acquire those parcels of land and set up CNG stations there ourselves.
Okay.
And the fourth mode is where we partner with private entrepreneurs and industries and set up CNG stations in their land.
Okay.
And whatever scope and roles and responsibilities of the different parties vary slightly depending on whether it is a transport undertaking or oil marketing company or a private dealer or MGL on its own.
Okay, understood. And so one last question. So whenever the prices are falling, I mean the ones which we are seeing right now, your margins are expanding because the price of alternate fuels are probably not dropping as much as your sourcing is dropping. Versus whenever the prices do increase in future, when dollar was $60, when crude was $60 a barrel, at that time you get a chance to hike your prices and recover the hike from the end users. So which situation is ideally more profitable for the company? I mean, where the global prices are down or when the global prices are up?
See, one thing you have to remember, one is at a given point of time, what are the movements happening both at Brent level and spot gas price level. And another important point to note over here is the price movement, sales realization is not a conscious choice which MGL is exercising in industrial and commercial sector. As per our pricing philosophy, the price is benchmarked with alternate fuel prices. So automatically the realizations drop down or customer gets benefited whenever alternate fuel price drop. Yes, in case the drop in spot prices is proportionately higher than the drop in alternate fuel prices, then MGL tends to gain. That is true.
Okay. Got it. All right. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Bhavin Gandhi from BNK Securities. Please go ahead.
Hello.
Yeah. Hello.
Yes, you're audible.
Yeah. Sir, just wanted to understand, sir, how much gas would be flowing from Raigad now? I'm just saying before the COVID impact.
Well, Raigad, the majority of the sale happens in the CNG segment.
Okay.
38,000. And we used to sell about 38,000 kgs per day before the pre-COVID times.
Got it. So second, I wanted to understand, post BS6, has there been any change that we are contemplating as far as CNG pricing is concerned?
No, on the pricing front, no.
But is it right to assume that your ability to price will be better given that diesel variant will not be available for the customer?
Yes, to some extent, our ability to pass through costs or increase prices will improve a bit because it is expected that diesel vehicles cost will go up.
Sure. And sir, just one last part of the 400 odd crore capex. What's the kind of maintenance capex that we need, and what's the growth capex? Rough breakup would be good.
It could be in the range of 10 to 15% maintenance capex.
Of the 400 crore?
Yeah.
All right. All right. Thank you. That's it from me.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Yogesh Patil from Reliance Securities. Please go ahead.
Thanks for taking my question, sir. My first question is related to Mahanagar Gas contract negotiation with the private CNG pump owners. Sir, in last month news flow, we read that gas supplies has been stopped to 4 to 5 CNG stations. So, any update on that side, sir?
Yes, we are in discussions with them, and we're hoping to conclude something quickly.
Okay, so that 4 to 5 stations are not operational as of now?
No, as of now they are not.
Okay, thanks. And the second question is on the side of, sir, CNG sales volume. If CNG sales volume takes more time to recover from the lockdown levels, then are you planning to raise the CNG prices to recover your fixed cost and other operating costs, like the IGL has did in last month?
We'll wait for some time and watch. The other point to note there is, when the gas prices dropped in April, IGL had, substantially dropped their prices, whereas we had done a calibrated reduction in our prices.
Okay.
And just on your previous point regarding the stations, I think in a day or two, those stations will be getting reopened, and we'll be having dialogue to resolve whatever issues they have.
Okay, sir. And last question from my side. Sir, if you could provide a sales volume guidance for FY21. We know that it will be a down as compared to FY20, but any ballpark number from your side, and mostly on CNG sales volume?
Very difficult at this juncture. Maybe we'll have to wait at least till Q1 end.
Okay, thanks a lot, sir.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Lokesh Manik from Vallum Capital. Please go ahead.
Yes, good afternoon, sir. My question was mainly on the upcoming gas exchange that we are hearing about. I just wanted to understand the benefits it could offer us in terms of sourcing requirements. Do you see that it can lead to a better price discovery than what we have right now in the international market?
Time only will probably answer that question.
Yeah.
MGL is concerned, it can be taken as one additional option for us to source our gas in case we decide to source from there.
Okay, and this would be obviously for catering our industrial customers, that is on the spot RLNG, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
Oh, so this is just another avenue for you. You're not really sure whether it would provide a better price discovery.
Yes, so we are watching the developments very closely, and if it makes sense, we will avail of that opportunity. But again, I think we'll have to give it a few months. I think once the exchange actually starts.
Okay.
See what is the market acceptance and what are the sellers and buyers, how are they doing on that platform.
Okay, and any difficulties you might face in terms of regulations, certain taxes being included, excluded in these contracts, or are they all sorted out?
I don't think there are any tax-related issues. It's just a normal gas purchase and sale transaction, which is expected to happen.
Understood. That's it from my side, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Siddharth Rajpurohit from GHP Securities. Please go ahead.
Good evening, sir. Sir, can you please give me the breakup of prices for APM, non-APM, PMT and spot?
So the APM and non-APM are priced the same. PMT has stopped for many months now. And spot prices are in the about $3-4 per MMBTU kind of a range.
Okay, so 3-4 is landed, right, at your place, including network charges.
Maybe landed, maybe a bit more.
Okay. And so APM is discontinued. Sorry, PMT is discontinued, but that volume for you is now under APM, right, sir?
Yes, the volumes are being replaced by a mix of APM and non-APM.
Okay, APM and non-APM. Okay, but sir, are our CNG and PNG volume 100% guaranteed by APM? How is that contract? Is it?
It is a policy of the government. As long as the policy is there, the volumes are assured.
Okay, because domestic gas is a very scarce resource. So, okay, so given the future growth also, it is guaranteed under the priority sector.
Yeah, yes, at least for the foreseeable next few years, so definitely we don't foresee any issue.
Okay. And sir, anything that you have planned, sir, because your network exclusivity has ended, and if any new partner would like to enter, how will you decide the prices for them? Anything on your end, sir, that you have decided?
Can you be a bit louder and repeat the question, please?
Sir, the network exclusivity for us has ended now. So have we done any calculation if any new partner wants to enter the market, or what will be the network charges for him?
No, the network charges regulations are yet to be notified by the regulator. And there are some legal challenges which are ongoing on this issue. So again, it's only with some passing of time we'll come to know how that plays out.
PNGRB has lost the case in Delhi High Court against IGL for pricing. So does it indicate that PNGRB doesn't have that much amount of authority in deciding any pricing?
Yes, PNGRB doesn't have jurisdiction on the pricing of gas. That was the final final decision which was held by the Supreme Court about 5-6 years back.
Right. It is also applicable for network charges also. It's not specifically for the MRP, it's also for the network charges.
No, the regulator does have the jurisdiction to determine the charges which will be paid by a third-party shipper or a marketeer. For transportation services or gas distribution services in a regulated business, the regulator is entitled to set the tariffs.
But that is for the interstate, right? For GAIL specifically, that the supply from the source to the destination.
No, it applies for both transmission pipelines as well as gas distribution networks.
Okay. And okay, sir. Thank you. I'll come back in case.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Soumya V from Spark Capital. Please go ahead.
Hi, sir. Thanks for taking my question. Sir, my question is on the margins. Your Q4 margins on the gross margins, if I look at it a per unit number, it has increased substantially. So, is it a right read that, the industrial has been the key driver for this? Because I see, as per the numbers, commercial and industrial realizations, I see that it's probably grown up 3 rupees per SCM on a QOQ basis. So is this probably driving big chunk of the gross margin improvement sequentially, sir?
Yes, you are right. Both in industry also and in restaurant category also, there was an advantage on sales net realization front. At the same time, spot gas prices advantage was also there. So coupled with these two things, obviously the gross margin has gone up.
Got it, sir. Sir, when I look at on a QOQ basis, for Q4, the Brent prices have come off, so which means the alternate prices fuel also would have come down. So in this environment, I mean, if there is a price increase from our side, is it because of a lag effect that we have in terms of price setting? Is that the driver?
Could be. For example, if we talk about LSHS prices, I have some averages for 2-3 LSHS rupees per ton was something around 29,660, whereas the average price LSHS for Q4 was 31,000 odd per ton.
Okay. Got it, sir. Sir, and is there any timeline that we have in terms of getting these prices reset on the industrial and commercial front, or is it like it's variable? It's depending on how global prices change. So we take a call, or is there any fixed timeline attached to it? We reset it in once a month or something.
Usually we do it about once a month.
Once a month. Okay, got it, sir. So one last follow-up question. So, sir, in terms of CNG station addition plans, I mean, over the next couple of years, what would we be looking at? And I mean, how have things changed this year? I mean, something that we had planned this year is getting pushed out to next year. So, I mean, your thoughts on that will be helpful.
Number of stations we had said it is, and this year is going to be very difficult to estimate. But asked to guess, we had earlier in the call given a number of 15. Definitely, we are hoping next year will be more than that. And if you look at our past history, we have been doing 20 plus new stations typically each year, and also doing a good number of upgradations.
Got it. Sorry, sir, I didn't get that number. The number that you said for this year is what's it?
I mean, if asked to guess, we said 15, 1-5.
1-5. Got it.
There would be few upgradations too.
Got it. Helpful, sir. I'll join the queue. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Rakesh Sethia from HDFC Mutual Fund. Please go ahead. Rakesh, your line is in talk mode. You can go ahead, please.
Hello?
Yeah. Hello.
Yeah. So thank you for the opportunity. The question is on the regulations. You've mentioned that your infrastructure exclusivity has expired. But does the current regulation provide any headroom for you to get an extension in the infrastructure exclusivity, or is that a grey area?
The current regulations as they stand has a provision of granting extensions in blocks of 10 years each.
Okay.
But since the whole regulation has been challenged in a sub judice, so it's really difficult to do much on it unless the judicial process runs its course.
So does that mean that in the scenario PNGRB would come out with a regulation asking for marketing exclusivity and infrastructure exclusivity get expired, would you be challenging this particular aspect?
The aspect is already under challenge in Delhi High Court since 3-4 years now.
That's from the IGL side, right? Or you are also the party to the same?
We had joined.
Okay.
IGL had started it.
Understood. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Vidyadhar Binde from ICICI Securities. Please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. Good evening. Just wanted to confirm or get your thoughts on. So, based on the discussion, I think this has been discussed in earlier questions also. How do you see the margins for this year? Because it was also asked, what is the, given the low volumes, fixed costs, how it will play out? You have some lever in terms of price hikes potentially going forward. But assuming that spot LNG prices, let's say, stay where they are, oil prices stay where they are, all your LPG price, fuel oil price, everything stays similar to what it is now. So do you see margins this year to be similar to last year, higher, lower? How do you see that? Thanks.
If everything remains same, obviously margin per se, gross margin at least is obviously going to remain same. Question will remain then.
But volume is lower, no?
Yeah,
I'm not saying volume will be same.
When we are talking about, we are not talking about the PAT margin. That is what we have already cleared earlier. When we talk of gross margin point of view, everything remaining same, it will continue to same. Whereas if the question is, okay, but volumes are going to be impacted, so what happens to fixed cost? I think there was a question in, I think one more question was there. So in case of CNG customer category, a sizable amount, except probably to repairs and maintenance, is 100% variable in nature. So it's only the planned maintenance activities and sometimes maybe some unplanned breakdown expenditure. That is what is a fixed in semi-fixed nature. Similarly, maintenance activities in respect of PNG will also be fixed in nature, and things like employee cost will be fixed in nature. But the way volumes are ramping back, if we can say so, for example, in speech, MD also indicated that as compared to normal volumes in the month of May, we are already recovered up to 42%. If this trend continues, I think a fair amount of fixed cost we should be able to cover up.
So you are basically saying margins are sustainable at last year level?
Per unit margins, yes. I mean, they are barring all things remaining same.
Then they are, yes. So basically you are saying the impact of fixed cost is not that big. So volume loss is unlikely to have a big impact on margins.
Yes, because as I said, 73% is CNG business and sizable CNG cost is 100% variable.
So margins will get impacted either way, only depending on the movements in spot LNG and fuel oil and LPG prices. That is what will determine.
Yes, and whatever conscious decision we may take on CNG and domestic prices.
Okay. So basically you have a lot of levers in that case. Okay, thanks.
Yes, levers are there.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Nitin Tiwari from Antique Stock Broking. Please go ahead.
Thanks for taking my questions again, sir. I'm sorry I got dropped out when I was asking. So, second question basically is related to the network expansion. So, at what basically level of saturation do we stand? And as you mentioned that you will be spending close to 400 to 500 crores every year on a recurring basis. So, what level of network actually we see is a threshold level at which the saturation would have been sort of achieved, and what is the time frame for that? So, one question is that.
Well, we are still having a lot of residual potential in our areas. So the question of reaching saturation in 5-6 years something doesn't arise. So the rate of ramp up will depend on how fast we are able to roll out, get customers and roll out our infrastructure.
Right. But so there will be a threshold level, right? So we are adding CNG stations at that of about 20-25 every year. So what is the number of stations at which we would be targeting most of the geographical spread and vehicle population where incremental station addition would not be required? So you would have some estimate of that number. That's what I was trying to ask. And of course, on the pipeline to domestic household front, I believe we are at about 35%, right? That was a number I remember from one of our last conversations.
Yes, that's true. We are at roughly about 30-35% penetration in almost all our segments.
Right.
With regards to the number of CNG stations, we don't think in a city like Mumbai we'll ever reach a situation where we will be able to say, okay, now we don't need any more stations.
Okay.
That's because the vehicular population is huge and opportunities are really huge, and those many retail outlet sites may not be available. So it is, but however in the suburbs and GA3 etc., there yes, there should be enough land to meet whatever demand which comes up. Right. Again, so we are not targeting any final level of number of stations as such. So we look at how the demand is coming up in various areas, where is the requirement, where is the need, and then we make targeted efforts to open CNG stations in those areas where we think they are required. Right. As regards piped gas infrastructure, again we are at a 30% penetration level. There the main trunk pipeline infrastructure has already been put in the ground, so especially in GA1 and GA2. So the additional infrastructure is largely in terms of last mile connectivity and capex for that. Again, that is a function of how many connections we manage to do every year.
Right. And sir, my next question is around NGRB guideline, which has come around setting up of LNG stations. So, do you think that could be sort of basically a concern for us, or we would also want to get into LNG dispensation business?
It is more of an opportunity rather than a concern. But
Okay.
Currently, we are not in the LNG business. Actually, LNG as a fuel for vehicles has not really started, but for maybe one or two vehicles on a pilot basis or something. So the advantage we see there is if this segment, and this will basically take a chunk out of the diesel market.
Right.
And if those vehicles are developed and manufactured, the engine remains the same. At the end of the day, the engine is going to burn gas.
Right.
So then whether you use LNG or you use CNG, there's not too much of a difference. So overall, if it expands the market for use of gas as a transport fuel, it could be advantageous for us.
In terms of logistics, sir, as far as LNG is concerned, so the transportation from an LNG receiving terminal to the consuming areas would mostly be by trucks, I suppose. So would that still make it economical versus, say, a CNG or diesel?
This actually depends on a lot of factors. The location of the terminal, the location of the retail outlet, whether there are any transmission pipelines in the vicinity where you're putting up that station. So the answer will vary depending on location to location. It will also vary depending on the sales volume out of that outlet. There are a lot of variables, and I don't think there is one single answer for what will be better off. But of course, with LNG getting cheaper now, yes, maybe its economics do improve over what it was about a couple of years back. But having said that, domestic gas prices, which are used for the CNG segment, are also pretty low.
Right. And sir, lastly, in terms of offtake of domestic gas in this quarter so far, we have seen lower sales. So in terms of allocation that we have of domestic gas, so what is happening with respect to our offtake obligations? So are there any liabilities which are coming up on us, or is there flexibility for us to defer that offtake? So how is that working, or have you basically declared a sort of a force majeure over here?
Yes, we have asked GAIL to consider force majeure because of COVID. And we understand GAIL has also raised that request on ONGC.
Okay.
But as things stand now, currently we are not expecting to incur any take or pay liability on this account.
Right. So why I ask, because actually force majeure also requires a complete closure of business as such. In terms of in terms of legality, there should not be any business conducted, or you should not be in a position to conduct business. But some sales have happened, right? So around 25% was what we were selling in April. So would that be an issue, or it's broadly we are okay as far as legality is concerned?
The force majeure is just one angle to it. There are a few other barriers also in place, because GAIL can claim take or pay only if it is not able to place its gas in the market. So only if GAIL incurs take or pay from ONGC. GAIL takes gas from ONGC not just for CGD. It goes to fertilizer, it goes to power, it goes to a lot of other sectors. So it's only on an overall basis if GAIL faces that situation and the ONGC invokes take or pay, then there is an element of risk. But again, there are a few ways to mitigate that also through contractual measures which we are doing.
Okay. Thanks for that, sir. Thanks for taking my questions. Have a good day, sir.
Thank you. The last question is from the line of Ashutosh Chaubey from Centra Advisors LLP. Please go ahead.
Good evening. Yeah, good evening, sir. My question is with regards to your CNG business. Could you help me understand what is the average amount of investment that is required to set up a CNG station? Also, what is the volume of business done per year, the revenues that are generated from CNG station, and the profits that are generated from per CNG station?
Typically, the cost will be in the region of 2 crores, but it all depends on what is the size of compressor we are putting in, how many numbers of dispensers we will be putting in. Also, separately, the cost of branch line comes in, that is from transmission line till the particular CNG outlet. How far is it located from transmission pipeline, because there is a branch line which will also be involved. So all these factors need to be considered before we arrive at a cost, but benchmark it is 2.5 crores per excluding branch pipeline. And hopefully you are aware that there is no land cost involved. Whichever channel which we choose, whether it is to co-locating our stations at OMC or through franchisee operator, there is no land bought out deal as such involved into these things. So that's on one hand. As regards sales volume, it's very difficult to say any typical or average sales volume. It all depends on the, as we said, number one, the capacity of compressors, number of dispensers placed over there, the customer potential available over there. Various factors will be involved, even the type of station. Sometimes it's an online station that is connected to pipelines. Otherwise, it could be daughter booster station where the gas is supplied through cascade. So it's very difficult to answer in respect of volume. It will change or vary from station to station.
Okay. Sir, the second question that I have is, could you help us understand how is the APM gas allocation done by the government?
Well, the APM gas allocation, the actual numbers come out from PPAC. PPAC and GAIL work together on doing this.
Okay.
So typically it's done twice a year, and for the first half of a year, whatever sales volumes have been achieved in the domestic PNG and CNG segments, now that is taken as a base for the next half year, and in the next half year you are allowed to draw 110% of your previous half year volume. So that's how the allocations keep rolling.
Okay. Okay. So as we know, out of the total, India domestically produces around 70 MMSCMD of domestic gas. How much of this is allocated towards APM? Could you give us a number?
For the CGD business in pre-COVID times, it was about 14 or 15 MMSCMD at the most. Hello?
Yes, sir.
In the pre-COVID time, the domestic gas being provided to CGDs in the country for CNG and domestic PNG was about 14 MMSCMD.
Okay, thank you. And I have one last question. That is, APM gas only goes towards the CNG and domestic PNG. Is that correct? Is there any other priority sector for that? Allocation is done to?
Top priorities for this segment, of course, the fertilizer sector is also pretty high on the priorities. I think it's followed by power or LPG production or one or two such sectors. Steel plants. And private industry, I mean steel and petrochemicals, etc. are the last.
Okay, thank you very much. That will be all.
Thank you. I now hand the conference over to the management for closing comments.
Thank you for joining the call. And
okay, thank you.
Thank you. On behalf of Ambit Capital, that concludes this conference. Thank you for joining us, and you may now disconnect your lines.
thank you.